Today, we've got the founders of the Canada-based Amazon agency, AMS One Step, one of the largest companies out there providing photography and listing optimization services for Amazon sellers. So they're going to share with us everything that they see that is working on Amazon in 2022. How cool is that? Pretty cool, I think. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Serious Sellers Podcast by Helium 10. I am your host, Bradley Sutton, and this is the show that's a completely BS-free, unscripted, and unrehearsed organic conversation about serious strategies for serious sellers of any level in the Amazon or Walmart world. And we've got a couple individuals here on the show who help tons of serious sellers out there. We've got Saddam and Kamal. How's it going, guys?
Going pretty well. Bradley, how about you?
I'm doing just delightful. You guys who have been listening to this podcast, you actually heard a little bit ago that, some of my adventures in Saddam's wedding and how I went to the wrong wedding. So, check out the episode I did recently with his sister, who actually works for Helium 10, Leilama. I don't remember what number that is. I think it might be 312, but you'll have some fun stories there. But thanks again, Saddam, for inviting me to your wedding, my first wedding there in Pakistan, and I was able to see Peshawar, which is a beautiful city. I went in the marketplace. You shop in that marketplace, or that one I went to? You weren't with me, but where it's just all kinds of endless streets with street vendors and other stores.
You know what? I've only been there a few times, so you did get the local experience, so to speak. But yeah, it was great to have you at the wedding. I'm glad that I was the one giving you that experience to be at a Pakistani wedding. And I'm sure, you covered the story on your side, but from my end, I was at the wedding. And funny enough, before the wedding, just random people were messaging me asking about your schedule. And I'm like, who are these people? I need to maybe cooperate. Maybe they're just planning the schedule out for Bradley. So I gave them more information, but it was just random people just texting me throughout the week, either on Facebook, even LinkedIn. And then on the day of the wedding, I don't see you for a few hours, and I got a little bit worried because it was Peshawar. And I kept asking my sister, I'm on stage, guys, and I kept asking my sister where Bradley is. Have you heard from him? And her phone was off for some reason. So luckily, obviously, we got in touch with Bradley. Even my partner, Anas, he was at the wedding. And I told him maybe he's at the men's side because weddings in Pakistan, we have segregation between men and women. And all the action happens on the women's side. So I didn't know if Bradley was stuck on the men's side just talking to some random person, but he wasn't there. But it was good that he finally got there. And
I came at the perfect time. It was right when your sisters started to dance. I got to see all of your dances, and a lot of choreography went into that. I mean, that was like 15 dances, I think, overall, that were all choreographed dances. So it's kind of like just like you see in the movies, guys. It was a pretty cool experience, and a really great food as well. So thanks again for inviting me over. Now you and your wife are now back in Canada?
We are, yes.
Excellent. All right. Now, first of all, Saddam, by the way, guys, has been on this show before. So if you want to get into more of his backstory about how he got into e-commerce, look up his name on helium10.com/podcast. I don't have the exact episode number there, but it should come up. And it's really great how, interesting how his story went from, I think he wanted to do something super boring before, like banking or accounting or something like that. And now he's living the life, working and helping Amazon sellers. Now, this is the first time Kamal has been on the show, and both of you founded AMS One Step together. Is that how it works?
Yeah, that's correct. We are, both the founders. So it's a funny story. I was actually an Amazon coach. I used to, teach people how to sell on Amazon, and I was organizing one meetup there. So Saddam showed up with one of his friends, and he was our mutual friend. So that's where we met. And I was already working on AMS One Step a little bit. Saddam was, he was really interested in how to sell on Amazon. He learned how to sell on Amazon. And then, at one of the meetups, I'm like, yeah, Saddam, you sound like a really smart guy. You want to be a part of AMS One Step. And he was, all in for that. And since then, we've been together. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Now, I kind of call you guys sometimes the United Nations of the Amazon world, because, typically, this doesn't go for everybody, but, sometimes people who don't know much about, geopolitical or different things, the one thing they know is like, wait a minute, I thought people from India and people from Pakistan, like they're not very friendly to each other. But here, you've one from India, one from Pakistan, and you guys have joined together to make a company, and you're not trying to kill each other or fight each other or things like that, huh?
That is true. That's quite a story. Maybe Indians and Pakistanis, they don't get along really well when they're in India and Pakistan. But once you move out of India and Pakistan, once you're, living in USA or Canada, you're just one. There's.
I love it.
Yeah. So
Amazon world, breaking down barriers and bringing people together. I love it. Now let's talk a little about your backstory, Kamal, because since this is the first time you've been on here, like, what did you, were you born and raised in Canada?
No, I moved to Canada in 2010. I was born and raised in India. So I finished my, high school there. So I moved to Canada for electronics engineering. So I took that for about 3 years in Niagara Falls, right across the border. So took that, and then I moved to Calgary, did telecommunication job for about 2 to 3 years. Then all of a sudden, somehow I found a YouTube video how to start selling on Amazon. Started doing some retail arbitrage, online arbitrage, wholesale. Then I ended up doing a private label.
What made you even get into that? Like, you weren't really satisfied with that job that you had, or is like, I don't know if I want to do this the rest of my life, or what even made you look for videos on selling online?
There is an interesting story, behind that. So when we were students, we were a bunch of, we were like 5 guys living in a house, 3 guys upstairs, and there's 2 guys in the basement. And one of the guys living in the basement, I think it was in 2013, and he always stayed in his room, and we were always asking him to, hey, let's just go out, let's go out and hang out and, have some fun. But, he was always, locked up in his room. And all of a sudden, after 2 to 3 years, all of a sudden he started posting on Snapchat, hey, I teach people how to, how to do Forex exchange. You can do trading and stuff like that. He was into Bitcoins and cryptocurrencies back in the days. And, he started doing well. I messaged him one day. I'm like, hey, you know what? I want to learn Forex exchange too. If you're making that much money, teach me as well. And he's like, come on, sure, but I do charge $2,000 for this. And that's USD, which is like 2,700 Canadian. I'm like, but bro, you're my friend, we live together. And he's like, I know, but this is what it is. I'm like, okay, so can I split in 3 different installments? Because I didn't have money that time. He's like, Kamal, that's really tough. Maybe save up some money and come back later after, maybe 3 or 4 months. And I kind of, I kind of took that to heart. I'm like, oh, you know what? There's something, there's something I need to do better with my life, not just go to the job and come home and watch TV. And that was the moment when I realized that, okay, I'm not just going to sit home and watch TV. I need to find something, which, which what he did with his life. He was locked in his room. He was learning crypto. He was learning, Forex exchange. And I kind of followed. I was inspired by him, and I followed his route. And that's how I, found the YouTube videos. I started learning, watching, like how to make money online and on YouTube. And there's one guy, he showed up and he was teaching how to make money on Amazon. So I've heard of Amazon selling before, but that moment and that video had me started.
Cool.
And that
cool.
guy
All right.
was
So go ahead.
He's our
that guy
now.
ended up being our client, by the way. So yeah, good
And
story.
then
All right. I love it. I always ask these kind of backstories because it just shows, sometimes I think there's a feeling out there that, man, there's no, I can't get into Amazon, I'm a veterinarian, or I work as a nurse's assistant, or my education was about geology. Like, what knowledge do I have to get started on Amazon? But I've asked this, now over 300 guests, and no 2 people have had exactly the same backstory about their education, or the exact same backstory about how they got into e-commerce, or what their first jobs were. So really, the point I try and make when I ask these questions is like, guys, you can come from any background and really get involved in e-commerce. There's no prerequisites, as it were, for it. So it's nice to hear your story. Now, let's fast forward. You guys have AMS One Step, which is a part of our trusted partner directory. For those of you guys who don't know out there, we have a directory of partner service providers who offer services and and things like shipping and photography and things that Helium 10 doesn't have, but Amazon sellers need. And so they were one of the first members that we had of that directory, AMC One Step. So make sure to go to directory.helium10.com. You can find their contact information and find out about what they do and other companies do. But I really like interviewing people who are agencies as well, as opposed to just individual sellers, because you guys have a lot more experience or a lot more varied experience, because you're dealing with 50 to 100 different sellers at a time. And so you've seen a lot more as a singular seller, as far as crazy things that happen on the good side or on the bad side. Now, one of your main things of how you guys came into my network was you kind of have a good reputation of having some great a great photography studio, and a lot of sellers have told me good things about how they send their images to you and you can do videos and stuff. And so we're actually in the midst of a case study right now. I know we're, for Project X, where we sent you all of our Project X and we're like, hey, let's do new photo shoots, and we're going to repurpose this for Amazon Post. And then we're going to use some to update our A+ content. So we're not going to talk too much about that, because we're actually doing a detailed case study, and we're going to come out with blogs and some videos about that later on. But one thing that we haven't really talked about much on the show, and you guys also do, which I didn't know until 1 month ago or 2 months ago, is you guys have actually a photography studio based in China. Do I have that right? Okay, so then I'm assuming then the advantage of that is, if I'm I'm in Canada, I'm in the USA, I'm in Europe, and I'm sourcing from China, instead of having to have samples FedEx to me and pay possibly more money, in my country, that I can just send it and it gets there the next day or in 2 days to your studio. Is that mainly the kind of people who use your services over there?
Exactly. For example, if you have an oversized product, it would cost you shit ton of money, shipping that product to either Canada or USA, and also it will take a lot of time, and plus paying customs and everything. So that saves that problem. If your manufacturer is in China, you can ship your product directly to our China studio. Not just that, we also have models from different demographics. So it's not like you're getting Asian models only. You can get models from any demographics. So I think that it saves you time, it saves you money, and it's a lot quicker and easier. So I think that's the benefit of having a studio in China. For example, if you're a seller who's who's selling oversized products, or if you have multiple products, if you have maybe 100 SKUs or 500 SKUs and you need consistent photography or videography, then having a studio in China is one of your safest bet.
Okay, cool. We'll definitely try that out. I have another Project 5K case study product that it's not new, but the images are dated, I think, and we'll give that a try, and I'll give you guys a report on how that works. But I think that might be news to a lot of people. Maybe they're like, hey, no, I don't want only Asian models, but there's people with blonde hair, there's people with blue eyes, there's people who are Latino who are living in China and work as models. And so you can kind of pick your there's old people, there's young people, you can kind of pick your demographics. That's pretty cool. Now then, Saddam, why would somebody use the Canadian studio that you guys have? I'm assuming it costs a lot more money for a user to use your studio in Canada as opposed to China. So in what circumstances is it better to use your North American studio?
100%. So the reason behind the Chinese studio was essentially to help expedite the branding piece. If you're launching a product and it's in China, you can ship it to Chinese studio. Similarly, there's a lot of products that are being manufactured within North America. Let's say supplements, for the most part, are manufactured within the US or Canada. So it makes a lot more sense to have another base studio in all these different countries, including, we have one in the UK. If they prefer a European touch point, then that's what we give them. So in those cases, usually clients prefer to send to the Canadian studio. Another thing that we've noticed is with our Canadian studio, of course, we have a little more diversity. So last year, we created our own custom studio. And think about it as a massive IKEA store where you have different rooms differently staged, like a bedroom, gym setting, washroom, kitchen. There's a lot of these settings available within our studio, and I'm happy to do a virtual tour with you someday, Bradley.
I didn't know that. I thought you guys were just doing renting out Airbnbs or something like that today. I didn't realize you had all that in-house, man.
Exactly. And the whole premise behind that was to create a production house. So if you go to video sets, movie sets, in Hollywood, it just takes care of a lot of additional issues. So you have all your lighting equipment there, you have all your production crew there, have all the props staged there. And you will notice when you have everything in one place, the end results also come out phenomenal. So usually when they compare between different studios, the agencies or freelancers that are using maybe Airbnbs and hotels, they have to take care of a lot of different steps. And as a result, sometimes the quality gets compromised.
Yeah, yeah. So now just some kind of best practices. I mean, we had Leilama here talking about a lot of this already, but some things we didn't really cover is, for example, like let's say I'm doing the initial photo shoots. Regardless if I'm doing it in the Chinese studio or I'm doing it in the Canada studio or I'm doing it myself. Like, what's the best practice? Like, should I just focus for that first shoot, if this is a brand new product, on only my main images, like my main image, and then, the supplementary infographics and lifestyle images? Or should I all at once start doing a whole bunch of other like shots that I eventually would use once I do A+ content, or once I, try and make my storefront my brand page, or if I want to put it in social media? Or should I wait to do those until I kind of get some idea about what my customers really appreciate about my product? Or should I just go ahead and take care of all that from day one?
So it's going to depend on number one, your budget, and number two, your end objective. And the second part is more important. So a lot of people think about budget, okay, I have a few $100s to spare, let's say. On the images, they just get the necessaries done and they launch the product. But ultimately, you need to ask yourself the question, are you trying to create a brand, or are you just trying to make a product move on Amazon? If it's the brand that you're after, then everything needs to be taken care of, regardless whether you do it on day one or you do it after a while once you have brand registry access. I would recommend, once you approach an agency or you have someone vetted, go for the complete shoot. So that shoot should have raw assets for your images, for A+ content, video, as well as the storefront. Everything should be taken care of, because what's going to happen is, down the line, if you do the images first and afterwards you do A+ content from, let's say, someone else, it's not going to have the same consistency that you need to have for a brand to be successful and have a consistent brand messaging across all platforms.
Okay, good to know. Now, Kamal, when would you suggest, like maybe I'm not, I think you guys offer this as well, but just in general, 3D renderings as opposed to photography? Should it be a mix? Or if I'm doing any 3D rendering, I need to make all of my images that 3D rendering and not have it look weird because some are photography and might look different? Or can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I think it's a great question. So it's a mixture of everything. So at first, we need to take a look at what your competitors are doing. For example, in order to get you that click, if your competitors are doing 3D rendering, then we have to go that route. And second, let's say if they're not, what kind of product it is? Is it a transparent product? Is it a highly reflective product? Or is it, depending on like what your product is, then we decide if we want to go with the 3D rendering or not. Let's say we do decide that we want to go with the 3D rendering route, then the main image has to be 3D rendered just because it looks so flawless. But when it comes to the lifestyle images, it has to be a mixture of 3D rendering plus the stock footage where you can Photoshop them together so that it looks real. If you're going to render the entire lifestyle, it's not going to look real, and also it's going to take longer and it's also expensive. So the best practice is to have a mixture of both of them.
Okay. All right. Switching from pictures or photography a little bit, let's talk about videos. Back in the day, unless you were like a vendor, you couldn't even do video. So this wasn't even a topic, but now there's multiple ways that you can use videos with your Amazon listings. Some of them are in your main image stack. Another common use would be, for video advertising, sponsored brand video ads. So I'm assuming that you guys, handle tons of customers to do both. What's working, what's not working, the last few months in the video world for each of those different use cases?
Okay, so what's working at the moment is the highly engaging, in action with visual references. Those kind of videos are working really, really well at that moment. Back in the days, everyone was using, the pure white background and, with some infographics and basic editing. That was, doing the job. But Amazon is getting like more and more competitive. So if you want to stand out just think of this as not just a listing video but a product ad. You have to engage your audience in the first few seconds. Maybe start your video with with the highly engaging content. Let's say if you're selling for example really sturdy glass, maybe compare it with something, the glass uh, cup falls down and it breaks, and so that it captures that moment. So the lifestyle videos are working really really well when it comes to the listing or PPC video or wherever you want to use that. So I would say lifestyle video, which connects emotionally, are working really well at the moment.
What would you guys say is the ideal length? Like, do you suggest to customers, or do customers, ask you, or what do you, regardless of what your answer is, like, what would you say is the ideal length for like a product image stack video? And what would be the ideal length of like a sponsored brand video ad for somebody to film?
For the video ad, ideally 20 seconds is what you want to aim for. But for the listing video, you can, depending on what kind of product there is and what you want to let's say if it's a testimonial video, you can go with the 40 to 45 seconds. If it's like how to use or how to assemble kind of a video, it may extend as well, because now you're not trying to sell. It's a problem solving or instructional video that can be longer too. So it really depends. For the listing video, it really depends what your motive is. But for the video ad, 20 seconds is the sweet spot where you wanna be.
And just one thing I'd like to add to this is we can upload multiple videos to a listing. So let's say for some products that are more, you have to create an infomercial or you have to educate the customer first. It's a supplement that was clinically tested, as an example. That study, or if it's a long video, you can put it essentially as a second video on the listing as well. And what we also need to keep in mind is there are other video placements. So as an example, you can put a video on the storefront. Same with A+ premium content. You can put a video there. So I would highly encourage taking advantage of all those other placements too, especially storefront. You have access to it if you're brand registered. So even for storefronts, same kind of concept. You want it to be sort of an elevator pitch. What is your store about? What kind of products there are? And more nowadays, it's becoming important to talk about the brand as well. How did you guys create the brand? What's the inspiration behind it? Just like you do with your podcast, the same kind of story that resonates with customers that then become part of that ecosystem and promote the brand outside of the platform.
Okay, good to know. Now, this next question is kind of like for either or both of you. Again, I'm assuming this, but I'm assuming that sometimes clients reach out to you and they just want you to kind of like do an audit on their whole operation, and like, hey, do I need listing optimization? Do I need new images? What about my keywords and things? So, you guys having so many different clients, can you talk about what is one of the biggest things or the most common things that's like an easy win that you guys kind of take over for them, that in other words, that the sellers, they're doing really bad at? Like, what's the most common thing that you guys are improving for them? Is it their images? Is it their keywords? Are they doing something stupid with their bullet points, or what is it?
Yeah, I can take that maybe. So we have one of the call to actions on our website is the listing audits, and we do lots of listing audits every single month. And one of the most common ones, which is the low hanging fruit, is the main image. What you can do, first thing what we do is look at the brand analytics, search for their main keywords, see what are the top 3 most clicked ASINs and what are they doing differently. And we do just a keyword search on the Amazon as well, and see if their main image is really standing out or not. So I think main image is the smaller piece, but it has the huge impact on your listing, because the more people, that opens up the gateway to your listing. Just by changing the main image or just by optimizing it so that you get that click, is the low hanging fruit, and which many sellers are doing it wrong. And that's one of the first thing that we point out. Hey, what, your click-through rate, your competitors are getting 15% click share on that specific keyword. Looks like you're not even on the top 3. It's like it's got to be, it has to be less than 4%. So those are some of the low hanging fruits with the huge wins that we see.
Interesting. Any more, Saddam?
I was going to say sometimes it's what I see common is sellers don't understand what the issue is. So at times I would just run a Cerebro report and show them that the problem is not the conversion, it's the traffic. You're not organically ranked on any of the keywords, and from the looks of it, there's no sponsored listings on any of the keywords either. And just to show them that data, helps them quite a bit, and then we can navigate from there. Whether they want their advertising strategy fixed, and like Kamal said, if it comes to creatives or if it comes to just the product page itself, main image, of course, is a big one. The other one is that again goes back to the debate, right? Do you go with a freelancer or do you go with an agency? Because what I find is when I audit these listings, the sequence of images is not sought out from a standpoint of conversion. So it's usually a designer or a photographer doing all those images, and they don't understand how to do that research. I'm all for DIY photography because that's done by the brand or the seller themselves. But when they outsource to an external photographer or designer, their expertise only lies in that specific area. It's either design or photography. They don't have image optimization specialists. They don't have a team of photographers or designers to create that whole project and make that conversion ready for Amazon.
Interesting. All right. That's really good to know. As we know, I don't know, there's something like 16, 17 different Amazon marketplaces, from Japan to Israel to Netherlands, and just a bunch of new ones too. I know you guys have clients all over the world. I'm just curious, like, are there any particular marketplace where you guys have just stopped, man, like it seems like more people are all of a sudden, interested in this marketplace? I'm sure Amazon USA is probably your biggest customer base, but are there any other international marketplaces you think we need to start paying attention to because you see some trends moving in that direction?
I think Germany is one of the interesting ones after USA, and UK. Germany, the listings third most, the country where we have done the listings for is Germany basically. So I think that should be on the lookout for, and we haven't seen much on Australia or any other countries other than in the European side. I think Germany has the potential. I don't know if Saddam has seen anything else.
Yeah, no, completely. Germany, I think if there's one more European country that we start seeing, I think the whole EU is going to pick up, right? Because essentially with one subscription, you get access to all of them. So UK and Germany for sure.
Okay. Now speaking of that, and also going back to what we were talking about having different races of models there at your Chinese office, and I'm assuming you have that in Canada too. But like, let's say I sell on multi marketplaces. Like for my lifestyle images, should I be, for example, using Indian models if I'm going to be selling in Amazon India? If I'm in America, should I use North American Western looking people, etc.? If I'm selling in the UAE, should I have models that come from that region, or you pretty much just use the same images, the same lifestyle images with the same models for any marketplace?
Mm-hmm. I think we haven't really come to that kind of a situation before where you need like different models for different different marketplaces. And what we believe in, Bradley, is it's not the lifestyle environment or it's not the models which sell your product. It's your product with the visual references which makes the difference. So as long as for example, let me give an example of a visual reference. If you're selling anti-slip bathroom mat, there was one listing image I came across. There's a pregnant woman, she's just stepping out of the bathroom and she's just stepping on that mat. It just shows that it's the extreme emotions, and it doesn't really matter what kind of race, what kind of model or environment there is, as long as the image is speaking for itself. Now the buyers, they're going to think, wow, the pregnant lady is using this product, it has to be safe. It's an anti-slip. So models and the locations, they are the secondary, but how we're trying to capture that picture and how we're trying to showcase that benefit and feature of that product is more important than.
That's good to know. That means because if your answer was the opposite, that means, oh, there we go. Another thing, we got to budget hundreds of dollars more if we have to take different images with different models. So I like that. Now, A+ content. I haven't updated my A plus content on Project X in a while. We're definitely actually Leilama is working on that project with Shivali here. There we go. There's another Indian and Pakistani collaboration there. I told you Amazon is bringing countries together. But anyways, for you guys, for your clients, is there a certain template that you're like, oh, this template is outperforming the other templates, or every single A plus content needs to have this certain module, or use this kind of theme, or make sure not to use images that you use in your image stack for A plus content? What are some tips and tricks you can give us about what's working in A plus content these days?
Yeah, so there are some best practices. We first want to see the whole catalog of the store. If there's any opportunities for cross-selling, as an example, we will definitely do a comparison chart module. It's the only way where you can hyperlink different products on your product page without actually paying for it. So you can do it through sponsored listings, but again, that's paid. Then we look at the nature of the product. Do we need to focus?
Wait a minute. Are you saying that in A plus? I see this. This shows you how long I've been away from this. In the A plus content, there's a module that you can add where you can actually hyperlink and have an image, like a thumbnail of your other products. Like if I have the black coffin shelf and I have a green and blue and red, I can put that right there in my A plus content, and somebody just clicks and it goes to it.
Affirmative, yes.
I didn't even know that. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So again, A plus content, that's a great cross-selling opportunity. Where you can not just hyperlink and put an image, you can actually give their features as well, so that customers know exactly which one is better suited for their needs. We also look at the nature of the product. If it needs to be something that we need to purely focus on the premiumness, let's say it's a home decor product, as an example, coffin shelves, we want to showcase maybe hero shots of the product so that people can take a better look at the quality and the material that it's made out of. If it's a product where we need to educate the customer, then we will use or reference modules where we need a lot of content to be inside it. So there are some tricks that we do when it comes to A plus content. As an example, we can merge the banners, and we sometimes either make it clean, as in just putting all the text within the banners, or if it's more of a professional outlook, let's say some brands, they want to go for the minimalist approach. Then we just keep it on white and then have a lot of content callouts and have CTAs in there. So that's my take on it. I don't know, Kamal, if you want to add.
I think you've already touched on that. Merging two different modules is a really is one of the best ways to make your A plus content is to take if you want to take your A plus content to the whole next level, just merge modules together and have them on a white background. That will, your competitors will keep scratching their heads that how the hell did you guys do this? Because it just looks so clean, and you can't even tell like what kind of module is this, because you can make it look like a launchpad A plus content. You can make the same A plus from the basic A plus content. You can make it look like any module. So that is the beauty of of merging different modules together. So to answer your short, what you can do is merge 970 by 600 banners. Like you can stack them 5 and then could design them like a one image, and then cut them between 970 by 600. I hope I make sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's super valuable. I never even thought about that, but yeah, like as long as they're not putting borders around each module, so then you can just blend them, or even if they were putting borders, the borders are white, so they just kind of blend together. That's super cool. Speaking of this, this actually kind of leads into our next thing that we always do towards the end of episodes is our TST 30-second tip. So I figured instead of just having one each or something, we're going to go back and forth for however much time we have left, and each of you can give your 30-second tip of something, kind of unique strategy that you and your team has used or that is working that you think most of our customers don't know about.
Yeah, sounds good. So a 30-second tip, there is an aura of a product on Amazon. And what that aura consists of 3 things. What the brand is talking about that product, what the customers say about that product, and what Amazon says about that product. So the brand is basically your digital assets, all your images, videos, A+ content. The customers is your reviews and ratings. Work on that. They have to be good. And then Amazon, sometimes if you get lucky or if you have a superior product, you get these badges from Amazon. So all these three things included actually make the persona of your product, and it gives out an aura which appeals customers at the end.
I never heard of being referred to as aura. I like that. I like that a lot. Kamal, what about you? Well, you have a 30-second tip for us?
Okay, so I'm going to talk about the main images. So your main image is a 4-step process. 1, it has to be attractive. Number 2, it has to be clear enough so that people are not guessing it. Number 3, it should build up that interest that they want to know more. They want to know more about it. And 4th, that's when they click on your listing. So this is the 4-step process for your main image. And the bonus tip would be use a label it strategy. People do not to read, they don't need to read the title or look at the price or reviews. Your main image can do this, can win you that click by using the label it strategy. I don't know if I can explain the label it strategy in 30 seconds or not. Okay, so if I can,
the T in the TST now stands for 2-minute strategy, so go ahead.
Okay, so how label it strategy works is, for example, if you're selling if you search on Amazon, search for protein powders, you're going to see lots of bottles and everything, and you'll see that 25 grams of protein popping out or something. It looks like it's part of that label, but it's not, and it kind of deceives the Amazon's bot system that Amazon would still accept that and try to come up with your unique selling point using the label it strategy. Let's say if your product does not have a label or packaging, how do you use it? Best example is take a look at the cutting board on Amazon. You're going to come up with a bestseller. It's the Gorilla brand. They are the masters of this strategy. So they have 3 cutting boards, set of 3 different sizes. They have labeled it around. Maybe it comes with a label, maybe it does not. But they have used their unique selling point as an infographic, like extra large cutting boards, which gives you a competitive advantage. It looks like it's the label, and Amazon system cannot catch it. You have a competitive edge using the label it strategy, and it can be used on many others. And we have broken down the main image strategies into like 12 different strategies. If you want to take a look at, go to amsonestep.com/blog. You'll find that, so this is one of the strategies that you can use for your main image. So
interesting. I hadn't heard of that. So since Kamal took like pretty much 3 30-second tips there, so why don't you give us one more tip on your side just to even it out here?
Yeah, for sure. I'll talk about customer lifetime value. So we talked about A+ content where we have a cross-selling opportunity. There are a lot of upsell opportunities and recurring buyer base opportunities too. So the way to upsell is, introduce virtual bundles, or give, again, visual references that Amazon, Kamal likes a lot. So instead of 1 lamp, show maybe 2 lamps and create a promotion around it. Buy 1, get 1 50% off. Same thing with recurring clients. So with the help of, let's say, subscribe and save, now the 15% discount that you're giving to recurring repeat purchases, that will be lower than your A cost. So basically your customer acquisition cost is more than what you're giving them as a discount to be a repeat customer. So this is how you kind of increase your customer lifetime value. And that's important in order to establish a brand on Amazon.
Awesome. All right. Well, I knew you guys were going to be a wealth of information, and you definitely have been. Guys, check them out, amz1step.com, or you can see their info in the directory.helium10.com. We've been using them for Project X, and now, like I said, we're going to try out their Chinese photography studio services with Project 5K. So I'll be doing look out for the blogs that talk about that. And so, hit them up if you want to ask them any questions. You guys in social media at all, or any other links you'd like to plug that people can find you guys out there?
Yeah, so you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. It's facebook.com/AMZ One Step, Instagram.com/AMZ One Step. On Twitter, it's AZ One Step.
Yeah. Got it. All right. Well, again, thank you guys for coming on here. Thank you for a great employee that we have that came from your company originally. Now, guys, I did not steal her from the company. She at the time was not working for AMZ One Step, but these guys are probably like, we don't want anybody listening to this podcast here because Bradley might steal you guys a way to come to Helium 10 now. But we're gonna bring one of your other employees on to we have another show called the Helium 10 Buzz. So by the way, guys, if you want to get every week, you probably hear this on the podcast already because we redo it on the podcast, but you want to catch it live every week on Wednesdays in our Facebook group at 10 a.m., we have this show called the Helium 10 Buzz, where it's just kind of like a shortened podcast where we talk about the news stories. And then sometimes we interview people out there. Instead of like a 45-minute episode like this, it'll be just like a 5-minute. So we're definitely going to bring somebody else from AMZ One Step to give some more tips and strategies on photography and listing optimization and things like that. So be on the lookout for that. So again, thank you guys so much for helping us out on our case studies here, and for being part of our directory, and for coming in and sharing your secrets and tips with our audience. So we'll be definitely reaching out to you in the future again.
Thank you for having us on the podcast. Always a pleasure to be on this.
Thanks, Bradley.
Now, one more quick thing. Kamal, are you married?
Not yet. I was going to say at the beginning that you are already invited to my wedding.
Okay, that's what I was about to say. Better. I want to go, and hopefully I'll come to the right wedding this time. Unlike what happened to me in Pakistan with Saddam's wedding. So there we go. No pressure. No pressure to hurry up on that process though. So
No, we
need them for a few years.
all right, we'll see you guys next time.